The Pyro has many fantastic primaries which can cater to many scenarios. Whether you want to get a pocket medic and spawn camp the enemy with the Phlog, reflect the enemy's projectiles until they quit, or even use a Degreaser paired with a secondary to get those lovely combo kills. The Pyro's primaries offer all sorts of playstyles, but some can definitely be identified as more practical than others. Today, I'll be finding the best flamethrower for the Pyro. I will be ranking each flamethrower under 4 categories: its damage potential, its support potential, its combo potential, and its fun potential. Each ranking will be out of 10, and it's important to note before we continue that a lot of this video is my opinion, and my experiences could differ from others. So to start off our comparison, let's take it back to the roots with a good old reliable flamethrower. The stock flamethrower has the best fuel economy, so to say. Using the flamethrower is like driving a Toyota Yaris. It's reliable and will get you where you need, but it doesn't really pack that extra punch. The flamethrower is best accompanied with a shotgun, as it allows for fast bursts of damage. The switch speed of the stock flamethrower forces a much more passive playstyle, and can make it a little bit more difficult to undertake combos when in comparison to things like the Degreaser. There are currently 2 reskins for the stock flamethrower, these being the Nostromo Napalna, which has a set bonus which deals increased damage against the isolational pack set, and the other reskin being the Rainblower, which gives you the pyrovision effect as well as shooting rainbows at your flamethrower. But easily the best part about the Rainblower reskin is its powerful area taunt attack. Everything about the stock flamethrower is just so ordinary. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for damage potential, mainly due to the fact that it outputs a max 150 damage per second and a grand 60 damage afterburn, which is certainly enough to send the lower health classes running for a health pack. As for support potential, the stock flamethrower offers the best air blast economy, meaning you can easily extinguish most of your burning teammates without running out of ammo every 3 seconds. Due to this, it gets a 9 out of 10 for support potential. One of the downsides for the stock flamethrower is its combo potential. It's not horrible, but it definitely gets trumped by the Degreaser, so it'll be getting a 5 out of 10 combo potential. I personally find the stock flamethrower to be quite fun. This is mainly due to the excess of air blasts and the ability to bait and troll the enemy soldiers. But aside from that, there really isn't anything special about the stock flamethrower, so I rated a fun potential a basic 6 out of 10. So moving on from the stock flamethrower is the almighty Backburner. The Backburner offers a more high risk, high reward gameplay. The upside to the Backburner is the guaranteed critical damage from behind. But with great power comes great responses. It comes with a great sacrifice, guys, with air blast having a massively increased cost, going from a sensible 20 ammo per air blast to an atrocious 50 ammo per air blast. This downside is very noticeable, and you'll run out of ammo really fast. The Backburner is a very situational weapon, and it's best utilized on maps with a flank route, and these maps usually happen to be the payload type, as you can get behind the attacking team while they are pushing the cart. To get the most out of the Backburner, you want to pair it with the thermal thruster or detonator, as both offer the Pyro a new method of transport, allowing you to have an easier time getting to position and diving your targets. I find that the Backburner is a real hit or miss weapon. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for the damage category, as it still has a solid max 150 damage per second, which turns into a breathtaking max 450 damage per second when behind someone. So I guess the Backburner is great if you really like getting behind your enemies, if you know what I mean. The Backburner has a pretty embarrassing support potential, with the air blast costing 50 ammo per use, which only allows you to get a max of 4 blasts, and that's if you don't shoot your flames at all. If you decide to use the Backburner, you're more than likely planning to flank the enemies, and not play around your team, so I'm giving the Backburner a 2 out of 10 in the support rating. The Backburner manifests some combo abilities, such as using it paired with a thermal thruster or detonator, but aside from that, there's not a lot you can do combo wise, so I'll be giving it a 6 out of 10 for combo potential. Now, the Backburner is not the most fun weapon to use. You won't really find yourself switching to your secondary or melee too often, but honestly, there's no feeling like getting a successful flank behind the enemy team and burning them to death with your crits. It's honestly so fun, and it's great to see their reactions in chat, so I'll be giving the Backburner a 7 out of 10 fun potential. So the Backburner is a heavy hitter, but what about the Degreaser? The Degreaser is the primary choice for many pyro mains, and it's often debated whether the Degreaser is a direct upgrade from the stock flamethrower. The Degreaser has an increased deploy and holster speed, however this comes at the price of heavily decreased afterburn damage, and a slightly increased air blast cost. The increased switch speed encourages a more aggressive playstyle, which heavily relies on secondaries. Now, although there is an air blast penalty, it's a lot less noticeable when in comparison to the Backburner, as the Degreaser allows for a total of 8 air blasts compared to the Backburner's 4 air blast limit. The only real negative downside to the Degreaser is the negative 75% afterburn damage. It definitely gives the enemies more of a chance to escape after you light them up, but you will not really find yourself noticing this in point blank fights, as it deals roughly the same amount of damage per second as the stock flamethrower. The Degreaser pairs really well with the flare gun and extinguisher, as the increased holster speed allows you to execute various combos. My favorite combo is the puff and sting combo, combo, which involves setting the enemy on fire with a Degreaser, air blasting them, and then shooting him in the face with the flare gun. If they don't die right away, you can clean them up with the extinguisher too. The Degreaser is honestly a weapon which is hard not to love. I think the Degreaser deserves a 7.5 out of 10 for the damage category, due to its fantastic ability to combo with other weapons, allowing for fast and hard-hitting damage output when in the right hands. As for support, I rate the Degreaser a solid 8 out of 10, as it still allows for plenty of air blasts, but just isn't as good as the stock. The combo potential is really where the Degreaser shines, so it will be receiving a flawless 10 out of 10, as the deploy and holster speed is very noticeable and makes switching to a secondary weapon more snappy. The final category to rate is the fun potential category. The Degreaser is so much fun. It feels like a responsive weapon with great handling. Once you get the basics down of comboing, you are bound to have the time of your life. So I'll be giving the Degreaser a 9 out of 10 for its fun potential. The next primary we're looking at is completely different from the rest. The Dragon's Fury is an extremely unique primary, which focuses on single target damage. The Dragon's Fury is a single shot flamethrower that deals ×3 damage on burning enemies. Another fantastic feature is that after a successful hit, its recharge time reduces from 0.8 seconds to a quick 0.53 seconds. This weapon really shines against high health enemies such as the heavy. However, due to it being a single shot flamethrower, its crowd control ability is almost completely non-existent, which is usually one of the pyro's main jobs. The Dragon's Fury is good to use against other pyros, as you'll be outputting a much higher damage than the other pyro, especially if you land your consecutive hits. The Dragon's Fury pairs amazingly with the flare gun, as you can combo 2 consecutive hits and a flare to deal a total of 200 damage, which is enough damage to kill all of the classes in Team Fortress 2 except the heavy. The Dragon's Fury opens up a new fun way to play the pyro, and offers an idiosyncratic experience. As for damage output, the Dragon's Fury offers a very high damage output, but it has a hidden stat removing random crits, so I'll be giving the Dragon's Fury a 9 out of 10 for damage potential. Now, I think support is where the Dragon Fury falls short, as there is a hidden stat which makes air blast speeds a lot slower. Aside from that, the Dragon's Fury promotes an aggressive single target playstyle, which involves a lot of diving targets in the enemy team, inevitably moving you away from your teammates, so the Dragon's Fury gets a support rating of 3 out of 10. The next rating category is the combo potential. There's only really one good combo for the Dragon's Fury, but this combo deals the highest damage output of any of the combos for the pyro. For this, the Dragon's Fury will get a 7 out of 10 combo rating. The final category is the fun potential category, and I feel like the Dragon's Fury will never let you down. It's such a fun weapon to explore, and it really switches things up. For this, I'll give the Dragon's Fury an 8.5 out of 10 fun potential. Now, we move on to the final and most widely hated weapon on this list, the Phlogistinator. The Phlogistinator is the Phlogistinator is the perfect crowd control primary for the pyro. The Phlog has the upside of getting guaranteed critical hits for 10 seconds after filling the oomph bar. You fill the oomph bar by dealing 300 fire damage to enemies, which includes damage from your secondaries. However, this comes at a cost. The Phlog has no air blasts and no random crits. The Phlog is actually an underrated combo weapon, and it's best paired with the Man Melter, Scotch Shot, or Detonator. The best way to fill up your oomph bar is to use your secondary and spam the enemies from a distance. As soon as that bar is full, you're able to unleash hell on your enemies. However, not having an air blast makes you realize how practical it is to have an air blast. The Phlog forces you to have a more sneaky playstyle, as if you get seen by a soldier, well, that's it for you. Surprise attacks are pretty much the only way to use a Phlogistinator. A tip for using the Phlog is to activate it in a corner or somewhere out of sight from the enemies, as a sniper or demo man can easily kill you as soon as you finish your taunt activation. When picking a secondary to use, it's simple. Use the Scorch Shot to maximize damage output, use the Detonator for mobility and to close a gap between you and your target, or if you're a nice guy, use a Man Melter to extinguish your teammates. The Phlogistinator is a very misunderstood weapon and gets a lot more hate than it deserves, and since this is the highest damage outputting primary, it gets a 10 out of 10 damage rating. The support potential is generally where you fall short when using the Phlog. However, you can resort to using the Man Melter to extinguish lit teammates. For this, the Phlog gets a 2 out of 10 support rating. The Phlog has a surprisingly good amount of combos and relies on its secondary to function well in game. Each flare gun has its own unique way of supporting the Phlog and changing its playstyle, so the Phlog gets a surprising 9 out of 10 combo rating. The 10-second power trip the Phlog offers is definitely fun, don't get me wrong about that, but the entire process of building up charge from a distance is kind of boring, and getting kills with a Phlog feels, well, cheap. It simply doesn't live up to the thrill of the Dragon's Fury or the time combos of the Degreaser, so I'll be giving the Phlog a 4 out of 10 for its fun rating, since honestly it feels like you spend half the time at a distance building up charge. So now that we've covered all the weapons, it's time to see their rankings. The Phlogistinator came last with a total of 17 out of 40 points, giving it a 43% rating. Second last was the Backburner with a total of 23 out of 40 points, giving it a 57.5% rating. And now things may get a little bit controversial, as personally I wasn't even expecting this weapon to come third. Coming third was the stock Flamethrower with a total of 27 out of 40 points, at a rating of 67.5%. Now I'll be honest, I was expecting the stock to be a bit higher up than this, as it's actually the main primary I use in game and that I've been using for years. However, ahead by half a point and coming in at second is the Dragon's Fury, having a total of 27.5 out of 40 points, rating it at the funny number of 69%, leaving first place to the one and only Degreaser. I know that the Degreaser is the first choice for many pyro mains, but honestly I was expecting the stock to win since that's a flamethrower I've been using for years. Let me know what you think in the comments and remember to subscribe.